Welcome to Oak Grove Media and Film. In today's video we're going to have a look at how you can go about replacing a background in Photoshop. So as you can see from my previous video, I have my image here with the background already removed, and you can see that I've opened my Photoshop file so that I have access to the original picture that also still has the layer mask on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is have a go at adding a solid colour background. So I'm going to add a new layer to this file, and that is using the button down the bottom here with a little plus sign in it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and you'll see that a new layer appears in your layer panels. Now with this, I will need to add an adjustment layer. So I'm going to go back down the bottom, making sure that layer 1 is selected here. Go back down the bottom, add an adjustment layer, and I'll get a range of options that will pop up. And I'm going to pick solid colour. So you will get a colour panel that comes up, and you can go ahead and select the colour that you would like from the sliders. And you can obviously pull the dot to wherever it needs to be in terms of lightness or darkness. So I'm just picking some greens here, but if you wanted to pick a more specific colour, you can go ahead and enter the codes into the relevant panels here. So you've got RGB, CMYK, or if you've got a hex number for your colour, you can go ahead and just put that into that box and it will come up with the desired colour. So I'm just going to have a little fiddle around, pick out a colour that I think will work. And when I'm happy, I can OK it. But as you can see, my solid colour is now ahead of my photo image. So I need to rearrange the layers so that the colour image is at the very back. And that's just a case of pulling the layer down so it's underneath your photograph. And there you have your new background with the photograph which you have already removed the background for. If you're not happy with the colour, you can go ahead, double click into the colour panel and have another play around with what works, and you can see that happening in real time. And there you have the background replaced with a solid colour. I'm just going to zoom in just so you can see how clean that looks with the removed background. However, if it were a little bit messy around the edges, you still can click into the layer mask of the image and go ahead and play around with the feathering, with the smoothing, just so you can get that edge that you desire so that it doesn't look too fake against the coloured background. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and actually delete that layer so I can show you another technique for replacing the background. So add in another layer, a blank layer, and another adjustment layer. This time I'm going to pick pattern. And here Photoshop has sort of loaded up a range of different patterns and textures. So I'm going to pick a water one and OK that. And again, the layer's in the wrong place, so I need to drag that underneath the photo. And there I have my new background with a water pattern instead of a solid colour this time. Okay, just one more technique to show you here. So I'm going to delete my layer, add a new layer, add an adjustment layer, and this time I'm going to pick gradient. And here you've got the option to do a gradient fill. So instead of a solid colour background, something that softly graduates across the page. So again, Photoshop already has some presets that you can select from. So I'm going to pick a grey here. You can go ahead and decide what the gradient actually looks like by fiddling with the dials. Just have a little bit of a play around until you're happy. So again, just rearranging my layers so that the layer 1 is the very background layer. That gradient fill sits at the back and my photo's at the front. So once you're happy, we need to just go ahead and export the image. So you go to File, you go to Export, Export As, and here you can make the selections that you need to. So I always suggest a PNG file, just because it's something that works with lots of different other programs. Transparency doesn't matter here because we've actually got an image with a background now. And as ever, try and save your work with a name that makes it easy for you to find. So there you have it. Hopefully an easy to follow method for how to replace a background in Photoshop, changing your background to either a solid colour, a pattern or a gradient fill.